Hi there, I'm Rahman. I'm a full stack software engineer from Berlin, Germany. And in this tutorial, we're going to create a complete responsive mobile first website using pure CSS and vanilla JavaScript. We are not going to use any frameworks or libraries. You're also going to get the complete exercise files for free. I divided the exercise files by chapters so that if you want to follow along from chapter 5, just take the exercise files from chapter 4 and you can easily follow along. To get the exercise files for free, just click the link in the description and let's start coding. So now let's take a look at the website we're going to build. It's a booking website. In the header section, we have our logo and our menu items. In the slider section, we have this beautiful slider that slides the text and the images. And also we have this animation gradient button. The second section is the booking section. And then we have a hotel highlights section. We are going to use Flexbox to align these items. After that, we're going to have a hotel benefits section. And then we have a popular destination section. And we have a gallery section. This section we are going to create using CSS only, and we have a magic one-line code that is going to make this gallery responsive and also takes different sizes, depends on the images. And finally, we have our footer section with the company section and all the website menu and links. So let's start coding. Open the exercise files and you will find the first chapter with 00 is in it. This is the initial folder. It doesn't have any code there. It just has the images and a README file. So open this folder in Visual Studio Code or any text editor you like. What we need to do now is create index.html file and style.css files. So index.html and style.css. In the index.html file, just type exclamation mark and hit tab. And hit tab and write h1 hello world. Hit save. And now open it in a browser. So now the first thing we need to add is the favicon. This is the icon that appears on top of the browser. Hit enter and type link, rel icon, and href. We need to point to this icon. It's already in the exercise files in the images folder. So it will be /images/ favicon.svg, and this will be of type image /svg plus xml. Let's add a fallback for it. Link rel is still going to be an icon. href images favicon.png, and this is going to be of type image /png, and sizes 192 192. Another fallback for that .ico file. Link rel icon href images favicon.ico, and sizes of type 32 multiplied by 32. And finally, we need to add the Apple icon. Apple Touch icon, and href is images Apple. Now the next step, we need to add the Google font icon. I'm going to choose Poppins icon for this style. So click on Get Font, Get Embed Code, and just copy this. And then add it under the Favicon icon. And then hit Alt-Shift-F to just format it. So now we have 3 links for Google Fonts. The final link we're going to add is the Font Awesome icon. So let's go back to Google and then Font Awesome CDN. Click on this link and then copy. Click this to copy and then add it under the Google font. Alt-Shift-F to format it again. So now let's start with the styling. So the first thing we need to do is create the variables. The variables are the colors, the fonts, sizes. If we like, we can have anything as a color and then use it throughout the style sheet. So I'm going to add a comment here and call it variables. I like to start with add variable. So when we have a long style sheet, I can jump between sections just by typing add and variable. So I go directly to it. So let's add the variables. To add the variables, we need to add a colon root. And the first variable is going to be blue light. We have a blue. And the main color. We also have a light version of the main color. And darker. Font gray, this is for the font, and font gray light. And finally, we have a color white. Now we finish the variable. Let's go to the next section, which is going to be global styles. We need to reset the browser style. As you know, each browser comes with its own styles. So we need to reset it to not have any problems with our code. So we need to add a global style before, after. So the star is the global selector for all the elements on the page. So we say all the elements and all the elements before and all the elements after. We give them a box sizing of border box. Then we need to add another global style for the star itself. So we add margin 0, padding 0, and font inherit. And now we give the HTML a font size, but this is very important. The font size is going to be 62.5%. Why is that? So we are going to use rem instead of pixels throughout our styles. So this measurement, this percentage we're taking here in the font size should be 62.5%, makes 1 rem equal 10 pixel. So it will make it easier for us to convert our pixel sizing to rem. Then we need to add the body styles. So we give it min height of 100, view height, and font family of Poppins and serif as a font back. And then we need to connect our style sheet in the HTML real style sheet, and this should be the standard CSS. Save. Now you can see the font size became very small because we said it's 62%, but you can see the style, the font itself it changed to Poppins. So to do the opposite effect of that, we need to give the body a font size. Font size, as you remember, I told you, like with this conversion of 62.5%, each pixel, each rem is going to equal 10 pixels. The right size we give it here is 1.4 rem, and this is going to be equal to 14 pixels. See, it got bigger. And now we give it a background color. Background var main color, and we give it a color of var color white. And now let's continue with resetting the images and video. So we'll say image, picture, SVG, and video. We'll give it a display block and max width of 100%. Now we need to style the font sizes for all the headings and paragraphs and links. So we say h1 font size 2.5 rem, h2 of 2.2 rem, h3 of 2 rem, h4 1.9 rem, h5 1.8 rem, h6 1.6 rem, and paragraph is 1.4 rem. And now let's style the link. So I'll say a color var font gray, text decoration none, and we'll give it a transition color 13 seconds is in and out. We need to give the link a color when it's hovering. Focus. Give it a color of var blue. So let's start with the header. So what we want to achieve is the header will contain this logo and navigation items. And when it comes smaller than 700 pixels, we will have this hamburger menu. When we click on it, the hamburger menu will become an X, and then we will have our navigation items. Click on it again, it will disappear. And when we make the window size bigger than 700 pixels, then we will have the old normal menu. And keep in mind, we are going to achieve that mobile first. So we are going to do that. We're going to achieve that the way we do it in real life. It's not like we do the full HTML for the header, and then we move on to the CSS, and then we write the full CSS for the header, and then the full JavaScript for the header. It's not like that in real life. We do a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, and then we add some JavaScript to it. And then if it works, we move to the next step. But there are tons of tutorials out there which I try to avoid. I don't like them. This is how you really learn, is they give you the full thing, the full HTML code, and then the full CSS code, and then the full JavaScript code, but you lose the connection, how these things work together actually. So let's start with the header. So let's delete the h1 tag here and replace it with a header tag. And inside of it, let's add h1.logo. Call it booking, and then add an icon tag. We'll give the icon tag a class of fast solid, because this font awesome, and for font. So now we move to the style. Let's add some styles to it. the first thing we need to do is I'm going to copy this comment and add it header. And then let's add the styles for the header. We'll make the header position sticky because we want it to scroll down with us. We want it to stick to the top of the screen of the browser, and we want it to scroll with us. So we'll give it a position of top 0 and z index of 99, a width of 100%, and background of var darker. So let's style the dot logo. You'll give it a color of var color white, font size of 2.7 rem, and font weight of 700. Let's style the icon of logo eye, color var blue, and margin left of -1.2 rem. So now we can see that the header is styled, however, it just extends to the whole screen. I want to give it a limited width for the header, and it stays in the middle. I don't want it to have to go as wide as the screen goes. So what do we do for that? We need to wrap the header in another div and give this the header inner items in a div, and then we need to give it a width. So let's do it. Let's round this h1 with a div wrapper. How we can do that? So Ctrl+Shift+P and just write wrap with abbreviation and add dot wrapper. And now our h1 is surrounded by a div of the class dot wrapper. Let's go back to the styles. So styling the wrapper, so we'll say header dot wrapper and give it a max width of 123 rem, and then padding of 0.6 rem, and give it a margin of 0. So let's resize the screen now, and we can see that the header stops at 123 rems because we added a wrapper element inside of the header dot wrapper, and then we styled the wrapper and gave it a 123 rem size. And now that we're here, I'm actually thinking about creating this max width because definitely we're going to use it again, so we can create this as a variable. So let's go there in the root and then add another variable. We'll call it max width, and this size, and here come back to the wrapper and add a var max width. Nothing should change. Yes, it is working. And the benefit of that, we can use this variable in any other div we want to give it the same max width, so that in the future, if we decided we want to make the max width is 125 pixels or 125 frames, then we can change it in one place and it will change everywhere. And now let's work with the navigation. So we go back to the HTML. Let's add a nav ul li multiplied by 4. This is emit. So this abbreviation will create the 4 li items and the nav and ul tags for it. And then under each li we need an a and a link, and under each a we need an I. And each I will have a class of solid head tab. So instead of typing all this, we can just create it with an abbreviation. It's called emit. Maybe I'll make a video about it one day. So I'm just going to add a hashtag or a pound symbol in each href. And then here under each icon, I'm gonna, for the first link item, I'm going to add home. I'm going to type. Second one is going to be flights, hotels, and taxi. Now we have our links here. We need to add the font awesome for each one of them. So it has the font awesome, but we need to decide which font do we need to have. So the first one is going to be for house, and then for plane, for hotel, and for taxi. So let's add the styles to the navigation. As we said, we're going to start it first for the mobile screen. So we will create the mobile screen design first, and then we'll create a media query to target bigger screens. So let's add a small comment here. I'll call it nav. So header, nav, position, absolute, top, 5.2 rim, the list and the ul, header, nav, ul, and list style type. Let's start the link itself. Header, nav, ul, and a display inline block. We add text decoration, none. We give it a little bit of padding. It's going to be 0.75 rem and 1 rem. We'll give it a color of white, and we add a transition to it. 0.14 second is in and out. So now we have a little bit of padding around it, but we need to add some style the icon itself. So let's add header nav I. We'll give it a margin right of 0.6 rem and font size of 1.2 rem. So we added a little bit of margin for the icons. Then let's stand the hover and focus state of the link. Header nav ul li a hover nav ul li a focus. We'll give it a color white, and background of main color light. Let's style the active state. Header nav ul li a dot active. We will give it a background of main color light. And we need to add an active class to the A element in the HTML. So let's give the home class active. Now we have it. Now that we styled the menu, the navigation, it's not finished yet. We're going to come back to it later. So what we need to do now is to hide it. What we want to create is we want to create this effect. So we will hide it on the main screen because we're going to mobile first. So the main design is going to be hidden, the navigation. And then we are going to create the hamburger menu so that when we click on it, the menu or the navigation items appear. So to hide it, we need to go back to the header nav. We will give it a position of left minus 110%. Let's see that here and then save. And now it is gone. So what we need to do next is to create this hamburger menu. So let's go back to the HTML file and then create a button. Give it a class of nav toggle. Give it an ID of nav toggle button. And then area label of toggle navigation. Inside the button, we want to create this 3 bars effect, the hamburger menu. So we will create 3 spans and then we will style them. Control C and V twice. Let's go to styles and then above the nav, I'm going to create another comment. Let's call it hamburger button. We give the button a .nav toggle class. So we'll give it a background non-border, give it a cursor type pointer. And to achieve this 3 bar effects, we need to give it a display of flex. And of course, the flex direction should be column because it's a column. And justify content space around. Give it a width and height of 2 rem. And then give it a margin top of 0.7 rem. So let's style the span elements. We'll give it a width of 2 rem, the same as the bottom. Width. And height of 0.2 rem. And then we'll give it a background of white. Now, as we can see, they are showing on top of each other. This is not what we want. We want them to be shown beside each other and the same as a row, not as a column. So what can we do for that? We can go to the dot wrapper and then give it a display of flex. Now they are beside each other, but then we need to give it a justify content space between. So now they are one on the left, one on the right. So now to make the hamburger menu actually work, we need to add a script file. So because this is only going to work with JavaScript, we want to target a click event on the button here. So add script.js file. Inside the HTML, we need to add it here, source, script.js, and then close the tag. I want to test it if it's already added, so alert yes, and then delete it. So before we write any code in the script, we need to make sure that whatever we write is only executed when the content is loaded, when the page is loaded. So how we do that? We say document dot add event listener. We add an event listener to the document, to the page. And the event we want to listen to is DOM content loaded. And then we add a function. And then here we can write our code. And this will make sure that our code is only executed when the content is loaded. What we need to do here is to target this button. So const nav toggle equal document dot get element by ID nav toggle button. And we need to add another variable, another const. So we will say when we click on this button, show us the navigation. So we need to also add a variable for the navigation. Const nav equal document dot query selector header nav. This will target our nav here. So now let's add our code. We need to say nav toggle dot add event listener. Which event we want to listen to? It's a click event. Then we add our method here. What we want to achieve is when we click on the button to add a class to the navigation. So we say nav dot class list dot toggle open. So we are saying whenever we click on this hamburger menu, add a class of open to the navigation. And we want to also do the same for the nav toggle, for the button itself. So we can say nav toggle dot class list dot toggle open. So the toggle is not just add. The toggle, when we click the first time, it will add. When we click the second time, it will remove the class. So let's test it here. We can see that in the dev tool, just hit F12 or Control Shift I for this to appear. So we have our header here and our button and then our navigation here. So watch this closely. When I click, you can see there is a class of open added to the button and class of open added to the nav. And then click again, it's removed. So what we need to do now is just style it, the new class. It's style the nav with the class open, style the button with the class open. So let's go back to our style sheet. So let's go to the nav section, and right beneath that we will be targeting the nav.open. So we'll say header nav.open. The first thing we need to do, of course, is to make it appear again. So we will edit the left position to be 0. Now it's shown. And we will add some more style. So we'll give it margin top, 0.2 rim, and background var darker. And then we need to make it bigger. So we'll give it a width of 100%. And height of 100 view height. We want it to fill the whole thing. But now, as you can see, when we hover over it, the link is display inline block. So we need to edit that to make it display block. So I'm going to target header nav.open ULLIA and give it a display block. Now it's the full width, and we'll give it a padding of 1.3 rem and 2 rem. And I'm going to change the top position to be only 5 rem. Yes, that's better, because before that, if you can see, there is a little bit of gap here between the header and the navigation. We don't want that. So just make it 5 rem and it is perfect now. We need to do one more thing here. If we click on the navigation, it appears suddenly. We want to give it a little bit of ease, a transition. So we'll go to the nav and give it here a transition of 0.3 as ease. Now that's better. So now let's target the open state of the button. As you can see here, when we click on the button, there is a transition and it becomes an X sign. So we need to achieve that in our code. We already added the open class in the script. In the nav toggle, we are toggling the open class. So now we can just add the dot open styles. So before the nav, we can add dot nav toggle dot open span end child 1. We want to target the first bar, so we will give this a transform, rotate 45 degree, and translate 5 pixels and 5 pixels. Let's copy this. Let's change it to be child 2 and child 3. Child 2, we are going to give it an opacity of 0, so disappears. And child 3, we are going to give it a transform, rotate minus 45 degree, and translate 5 pixels and minus 5 pixels. And then when we click on that, it is working, however, without any transition. So we need to add a transition effect to the nav toggle. So give it a transition of 0.3 seconds, and of course ease in and out. So now it is working as expected. When we click on the menu, it appears, and when we click on it again, it will disappear, and everything is smooth and with a good transition. However, it's not working on big screen yet. So let's start with implementing our media queries. Let's copy a comment from here. Then scroll down, and I will add it media queries. So add media, the screen, and minimum width of 700 pixels. We need to make, in the big screen, we need to make this disappear. So we'll target it first. So dot nav toggle display none. And then we need to edit the menu styles. So header, nav, position inherit, top auto, and left auto. And then header nav UL, we give it a display flex, justify content flex end, align items center, gap 1 rem. This time the link, so header, nav, ul, li, a. You'll just give it a border radius of 0.5 rem. So as we can see, it is working fine. So this is our big screen. And in the small screen, we have our navigation. However, there is one little problem. When we click on this and then resize our screen, see we have this weird looking styles. Don't have this. I don't know why. The icon is on the second line. This looks big. The problem is if we go to inspect, and then we can see the nav item still have the open class. So it's actually inheriting from the open class, and there is a mismatch, there is a conflict between the styles. And also the button has the open class. So what do we need to do? We need to use JavaScript to remove these classes when the screen size is bigger than 700 pixels. So how to do that? We need to go back to the script. And after this code, we need to add a resize event listener to our window. So we say window.add event listener, which event resize. And our function. So we say if window.inner width bigger than 700, what to do? So what we say nav.classList.remove our class open, and also nav toggle.classList.remove our class open. So now let's test that. Let's go back to the smaller screen and then open this and then resize. It looks all right, but to make sure, let's actually look at the source code. And we have here the button. It doesn't have the class open, and the nav also doesn't have the class open. So let's make it smaller and then click on it. We have the class open here in both of them. And let's resize without clicking, and it is removed. So the script is working and the header is working as expected in big and small screens. So let's move to the next chapter to design the main slider. So in this section, we're going to create the slider. The slider consists of the text section and the images section, and both sections has to synchronize with each other. We are going to achieve this synchronization using JavaScript. We are going to start designing or creating the slider mobile first as usual. So actually the view we are going to start with is this view, the mobile view. So the text is above and the image is beneath it. The image slider is beneath it. And when we click, the slider should be working as expected. And in big screens, they should be beside each other. And we are also going to create this futuristic button with this animation, which we are going to create using only CSS. So if you want to follow along starting from this chapter, you can take the exercise files from the previous chapter. So we are in chapter 3, the slider section. You can take the exercise files from chapter 2 and follow along, because this code is what we created by the end of the last chapter. So let's create the slider. Under header, we'll create a new section. We'll call it intro. Underneath it, we're going to have a div of class slider container. And then we are going to create 2 slider divs. one for the text slider, one for the image slider. We are going to give the first one an ID of text slider, and the second one an ID of image slider. Underneath each of them, we're going to create a div with a class slide track. Let's format it to see it properly. So I'm going to hit Alt-Shift-F. And finally, the slide track is what is going to contain our slides. So let's create the first slide for the text dot slide. This section is going to contain some random text. It's just an H2 and 2 paragraphs. And also let's add the gradient button, this button here. This is going to be a class of dot glow button wrapper, button of type glow of class glow button. Inside of it there is an href. Look now. Now let's add the image slide. Let's create a dot slide. Underneath it an image, and sources images slider slide 1. Let's copy this slide and paste it 2 times. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format it and change the slide to be number 2, 3, and image number 3. Let's also copy the div slide from the text slide and paste it 2 times. Hit Alt-Shift-F. And now we have 3 paragraphs on top of each other and 3 images on top of each other. So let's style them. So the first thing you notice here is when we make our screen bigger, our slider is going to expand to whatever big our screen is. So we don't want to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we assign a max width to our section. We are going to do that in our global styles. I'm going to add section, give it a max width of var max width, and give it a margin of 3 rem and auto. Now it is good. Let's style the slider itself. Copy the comment, paste it above it, and make it slider. So we gave our section a margin top 3 rem and a margin bottom actually also 3 rem, which we have here, but because we are starting from mobile screen, we don't need that actually in the mobile screen. We need it in big screen, it's right, but in mobile screens we don't need this 3 rem margin. So what we are going to do, we're going to remove it in mobile screen. So .intro margin top 0, and then the dot slider container, you will make it display flex. Now they are appearing beside each other, but we don't want that in mobile screen. So we are going to add flex wrap, so they appear again underneath each other. And finally, justify content space between. All right. So if we check the HTML, we will find that the slider container contains the sliders. So we can minimize it. The slider container contains 2 sliders, one for the text slider and one for the image slider. And then each one of them contains a slide track. And the slide track is actually what contains the slide. So we need to style this slide track also. We need to give it a display flex so that the images don't appear underneath each other like that. We want it to have a flex layout. So dot slide track display flex. So now they're appearing beside each other. Let's check the HTML again. Each slide track contains the slides inside of it. So we need to style the slide. We need to give each one of them a minimum width of 100%. Dot intro dot slide minimum width 100%. So now they're appearing beside each other. Each one of them has 100% minimum width. It looks broken right now, but we're going to fix it later. For now, this is all right. Let's add some styles to the slide, add some padding to it. And text align center. So let's style the paragraph and the H2 elements here in the text slider. Dot intro dot slide H2. We'll give it a margin bottom of 1 rem and a font size of 2.5 rem and font weight of 600. Now it looks good on the small screen. Let's move to the paragraph. Dot intro dot slide p. Font size 1.6 rem. Line height of 1.5 and color var font gray. And then let's style the image. Dot intro dot slide image. Width of 33.5 rem. Margin of 0 auto. Border radius of 20 rem. Now let's look at the other elements in the slide. Let's add these shapes and these two images in the HTML first, and then we are going to style them. So in the image slider, after the slide track, let's add these shapes and images. We have two shapes, so let's add dot shape 1 multiplied by 2, so 2 elements, and then each one of them will have an image element. So the first one, let's add the source, images slider shape 1, images slider shape 2 and shape 2. Alt Shift F so we can format it. So now we have these shapes down here. Let's add these two images. Dot side image 1 multiplied by 2, and each one of them is going to have an image element. So images slider side image 1, images slider side image 2, side image 2. Alt Shift F to format it. And here we have the shapes, these two. and the images. So let's style them. The way we want to style them, we want to position them relatively to the slider container. So they are part of the div slider. So we need to make sure that the div.slider has a position relative and overflow hidden. Let's add this style to it. So here dot slider, position relative, overflow hidden. And then we will give each element a position absolute. So we will position them exactly where we want them to be. So dot slider dot shape position absolute dot slider dot shape 1 top 15% left 0. And now it's positioned exactly where we want it to be. Dot slider dot shape 2 top 50% and right 0. And of course we need to edit the shape 1 here to be shape 2. This is the first shape, shape 1, and this is shape 2, and this is the second image, side image 1, and this should be side image 2. Now let's position the images, these two images. So dot slider dot side image position absolute dot slider dot side image 1. We want to position it to top 0 and right 0. Dot slider dot side image 2 bottom 0 and left 0. Let's give them some styles. Dot slider dot side image border 6 pixel solid var white, and border radius is going to be 12 rem. So now this is looking way better than before. When you resize it, you can notice that it's only resizing to the mobile screen. We haven't started yet. We haven't done anything for the big screen, but we'll do it later. Don't worry about it. So let's move to, so for now, let's add the control buttons. Let's go to the HTML file. And after the last side image, let's add the buttons for the controls, like this control. This is going to be button of class control button, and it's going to have an ID of rev button, and each one of them is going to be 2 of them, and each one of them is going to have an icon with a class of far solid and far arrow right, and Shift F so we can see everything. So this is the button, the first one, and this is the next button. Let's just style it better. And now let's change the ID for the second one. It's going to be next button. And the first icon is going to be far arrow left. And now we have them here. So let's style them to look exactly like we want them to be, like this one's here. Let's add the control button. Give it a position, absolute, margin right, 1 rem, padding, 1 rem, 2 rem. And now that we give them the buttons position absolute, they disappeared. So let's make them appear again in our view. So we will target each one of them. So dot control button ID rev button. This one will be bottom 0 right 0. The second one, control button ID next button, is going to be bottom 5 rem and right 0. Now let's go back and style the buttons to look exactly like how we want them to look. Give them a font size of 1.6 rem, background of blue light, remove the border 9, give it a color of white, give it a border radius of 0.5 rem, and cursor pointer. Now we need to give them a hover effect. Dot control button hover, background color warm blue, give it a little bit of transition effect. You want to transition the background color 0.3 seconds and ease in and out. And now it looks way much better. Now let's make the slider actually work. Right now, when we click on the next button or the previous button, nothing happens because we didn't add any JavaScript to it. What do we want to achieve? Let's see here the final page. When we click on the next button, we want the image slider to move, and also we want the text slider to move. And exactly the same when we click on the previous button. We want both sliders to move, so we want to sync the text slider with the image slider. So the first thing we need to do in the JavaScript file, we need to grab hold of these elements. We need to create variables that will hold the slide track inside the text slider and the slide track inside the image slider and the next button and the previous button. So let's create that in JavaScript. I'm going to add a comment here to divide the sections. Const text track equal document dot query selector text slider dot slide track. Const image track equal document dot query selector image slider dot slide track. const brev button equal document dot get element by ID brev button const next button equal document dot get element by ID next button. And now let's add some event listeners to the next button and the previous button. Next button dot add event listener. We want to add the event on click, and on click we want to do stuff, so we will create a function for it, and let's call the function next slide. And the same for brev button, add event listener also on click, and let's call the function brev slide. Now we want to create these two functions. So function next slide do stuff, and function brev slide also do stuff. What we want to achieve now inside these methods, we want to get hold of the current slide. So we want to sync the image slide and the text slide. So we need to find which number of the image slide is that, so we can sync it with the text slide and vice versa. So when we click next, both of them slide together. For that, we need to keep track of how many slides do we have and the current slide. So let's create these variables. Const total slides equal text track dot children dot length. This will give us the length of our slides. How many slides do we have? In our case, we have 3. It could work with text track or even image track because both of them are the same length. And then let current slide equal 0. This is the variable we want to update. We want to keep track of which slide number are we in. So let's calculate the current slide. Current slide equal current slide plus 1 modulus total slides. So what does this do? Let's understand first the modulus operation. The modulus operation is basically what is left after we have a perfect division. I will explain it briefly in the console here. So let's say 3 modulus 3. It is 0 because nothing is left. We have a perfect division. 3 divided by 3 is a perfect division and no numbers left. However, if we said 4 modulus 3 is 1, because what is the nearest number less than 4 that we can divide it by 3? So it is 3. And what is left from that? So 4 minus 3 is 1. Let's go up. 5 modulus 3 equal 2. Again, what is the number that we can divide it by 3 less than 5? So it is also 3. So what is left after the perfect division? So 5 minus 3 is 2. Let's say 6 modulus 3. Again 0 because it's a perfect division. So you get the idea. In our slider, we have 3 slides. So we added the current slide in the first round to be, we initiated it with 0, and then we are updating it inside the next slide. We are saying 0 plus 1 modulus total slides. So 1 modulus 3 is 1 because we cannot divide 1 by 3. 1 is less than 3. So it will remain 1. Let's say 2 modulus 3, still 2. Because there is no number less than 2 that we can divide it perfectly by 3. So this will allow us to have a number that is either 1, 2, or 3. And it doesn't matter if our slides grow bigger to be like 10 slides we have. So it will be 1, 2, 3 until 10. So this modulus division will help us keep track of the current slide, and we will update the current slide inside the next slide and also inside the previous slide. So we can move and sync the image slide with the text slide. Now we need to update the slide. So we'll create another function. We'll call it update slides. And here we will sync between the image slide and the text slide. How are we going to do that? With a transform. So we want to move the slide from the right to the left or from the left to right, whatever it is, with the transform styles. We'll create a const offset equal minus current slide multiplied by 100, and then we'll add this offset to the transform style. So text track dot style dot transform equal, we'll have a backtick and translate x, then a dollar sign, brackets. This will allow us to add a variable inside this string, and it is allowed by the backtick here. So let's add the offset variable. And let's do the same for the image track. So Ctrl C V, we need to duplicate that. Image track dot style dot transform translate x offset. So we are moving both of them together with this offset. Now we need to add this method or call this method inside the next slide. And of course, we forgot to add the percentage here. So let's test it. Now the next button is working. And let's do the same with the previous button. So delete the comment and update the current slide. When we click on the previous button, it's going to be equal current slide minus 1 plus total slides, and this is modulus total slides, and then we need to call update slides. Let's test the previous slide. It is also working as expected. We need to add a transition here. We will do it soon, but I want to show you how this actually works in the debugger. So F12 and go to sources, refresh the page first and make it big. And in the script, I'm going to add a breakpoint inside the next slide. So let's click next. And now it stopped here. So let's track the current slide. So first, the current slide is 0. Let's step over it. And now the current slide is 1 because our total slide is 3. So 1, so it was 0 plus 1 is 1. Modulus 3, it will be 1. So the updated version of our current slide is now 1. Now let's step into the update slides. So we have a variable here, offset. It's going to be minus 1 multiplied by 100, which is going to be minus 100. And this text track style.transform, we are adding inline style to our element. We are giving it a translate x with the offset of minus 100%. And also for the image track, we're giving it a style, inline style with a translate x of minus 100%. So they are moving together. Now let's check our elements. As we can see, the slide track and inside the text slider and the slide track inside the image slider, both of them they have a transform of translate x minus 100%. Don't forget to remove the breakpoint from the div tool, otherwise it's going to stop every time you refresh. Close it, and then let's go back to the code. Now our slide is actually working. Let's add some transition to the images. Let's go to the styles and look for the slide track and add a transition. What do we want to transition? Transform 0.5s is in and out. Test it. Now we have a nice transition for the text and image slider. And now let's style the button here to give it this gradient animation. Go to the styles, scroll down here, dot below, button wrapper, position relative, padding 0.2 rem, border radius 3.2 rem, background linear gradient with these colors and the degree, background size 400% and 400%. Give it an animation. We are going to create this animation gradient move 6 seconds, ease and infinite. Max width 29 rem and margin 1.5 rem auto. Now let's style the glow button, the button itself. Width is going to be 100%. Background 111. Padding 1.4, 3.2, both are rem. Font size 1.6 rem. Border none. Border radius 30 rem. Cursor pointer and font weight 700. Let's give the link itself a color. So dot low button a color var white. And now let's create the animation. Add keyframes at 0%. Background position is going to be 0% and 50%. We'll copy this and paste it twice. Here at 50% and here at 100%. The 50% we're going to change it to be 100% and 50%. Now save, and we can see the animation is actually working. So now the only thing that is left is to target the big screens. So we are going to scroll down and here create a comment for slider. Let's make the browser a little bit bigger. So dot intro, we'll give it a margin top of 5 frame, and then dot slider, we are going to give it a flex of 1, 1, and 50%. So now they are appearing beside each other. Let's make the h2 bigger. So dot intro dot slide h2, font size 4 rem, and font weight 700. Let's make the paragraph also a bit bigger. So dot intro dot slide p, font size 1.8 rem. And finally, dot glow button wrapper, give it more margin, 2 rem and 0. And we want the text to be aligned to the left, so we will add dot intro dot slide text align left, and let's give it some padding. It's going to be 4 rem, 4 rem, and also 4 rem, and finally 1 rem. So now our slide is working for the big screen, as well as when we shrink it, it will also appear perfectly on the small screens. So with that, this section is finished. If you like this tutorial so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's a huge help for me and motivates me to post more free tutorials like this. And don't forget to go and check webdevcourses.com for many free and paid courses in web development. In this section, we are going to create this form, which consists of 4 inputs, 1 of type select, and 2 of type date, and 1 of type number. So bring something to drink and let's code this section. So let's create a section with the class of search booking. Underneath it, we need to create a form with the class of search form, and underneath it, we are going to create a div of the class form control multiplied by 4. We need to create 4 of them. Delete the action, we don't need it. We need to create the icon of the class far solid far location dot. Underneath, we need to create a div of the class form group. We add our label for location, dot location list. Create the select element. The name is location. ID is location. And here we create our options. Option multiplied by 6. The first one has no value. We write select a location. The second one should be Berlin. Berlin. Third one, Paris. And London. Tokyo. Sydney. And here we have our elements. For the first element, we add disabled and selected. This is because we don't want it, see it's disabled from here. when we select something else, we don't want to be able to select it again. So I'm clicking on select a location and it's not clicking. That's why it is disabled. However, when you first load the page, it's selected by default. And that's what this selected attribute does. Let's create the other form input. Create the icon, class far solid, far calendar, dot form group label for check-in, input type date, name check-in, and ID check-in. And let's add a required attribute to it. So let's copy this form control and replace the next form control with it. Shift F. And let's change it to checkout. And the final input, let's create an icon, class far solid, and far person walking luggage. You can see it down here. Dot form group, create a label for guests, input type number, ID guests, name guests, minimum 1, max 20, value 1, and required. So the HTML is now finished for this section. Let's style them. So let's copy this comment and add it here. Search booking dot search booking margin top for rem and margin bottom for rem. Let's style the form itself, the search form. Dot search booking dot search form. Give it a darker background. Give it a padding of 5 rem, 2 rem, 7 rem, and 2 rem. Border radius of 1 rem. Color var font gray, and then give it a display flex and gap 1 rem and flex wrap. We need to also style the form control. The form control consists of 2 parts, the icon and the div of form group. As you can see now, they are appearing beneath each other. So the icon is on top and then the form group underneath it. We don't want that. We want them to be beside each other. So we'll give it a display flex for the form control. Dot search booking dot form control display flex. Now they're appearing beside each other. Align items center, justify content also center, and then flex grow 1 and shrink 1. So let's style the input fields. So dot search booking select and dot search booking input. Give it a width of 100% and height of 5 rem. Background for dark and color of font gray light. Border of 1 pixel solid. This color. And then border radius of 1 rem. And then give it a padding left of 2 rems. Now let's start the label. Let's search booking label. Background dark. Position relative top 1 rem and left 1.5 rem. And then give it a padding of top 0 and left and right 0.7 rem. And with that, we have this effect as if the label is part of the input field. Let's style the icon. Let's search booking I, margin 0 and 0.5 rem. Align self end. This will make it appear at the bottom. Font size 3 rems and text align center and then margin bottom 0.7 rem. So far it looks great. However, when we make the screen smaller, I want this input field, whatever left down at the second line, I want it to take 100% of the width. To achieve this, we need to add flex grow to the form group. So dot search booking dot form group flex grow of 1. And now it's taking 100% of the size. And for this section, we actually don't need anything to target the big screen because with the display flex, it's gonna handle this for us. So in the big screen, it will look like this. Whenever we go smaller, it will break to the second line and it still looks great. So with that, let's move on to the next section. Let's create the hotels section. It will contain a section title and 4 list items. Each item contains an image, information about the hotel, a title, and a location. So let's go to the HTML file, and underneath this section, we're going to create another section. We will call it, we'll give it a class of hotels. We'll create the title h2 of section title, our hotels highlights, underneath it create a UL with hotels list class. It will have an LI with the class of hotel item and multiplied by 4, and this is going to have an image. So let's add the first image. It's going to be under images, hotels 1. Repeat that for the other images and then change the numbers to 2 and 3 and 4 accordingly. And now the images appear underneath each other. So underneath the first item, let's add another UL to show the hotel info, which is this part. Dot hotel info. And then an li, create two span, class text, and another one, class number. The first one will contain the price. The text is going to be night. Let's copy and paste this 2 more times. Change this to be 4.9 rating, and this to be 150 bits. Underneath the UL, let's add the title of the hotel. Hotel Istanbul. And then the location is going to be H6. And then icon, class far solid far location dot, and then the location text. Let's copy the UL, including the H3 and H6, and paste it under each LI. And now each item has its title and lists and location. So the HTML for this part is finished. Let's go and style it. Copy the comment, add it here, and rename it to hotels. Dot hotels, UL, list style type, none. And then UL dot hotels list. Let's give it display flex gap of 2 rem and flex wrap. And now they are appearing beside each other. Let's style the li element. So li dot hotel item background of this color, border radius of 1 rem, and padding of 1 rem, and give it a flex grow 1 shrink 1. Let's style the UL element inside the li, which is this UL list, li dot hotel item UL, also display flex, justify content space between align items center, and margin top of 1 rem. Let's style the li of each UL here. So copy this, li width of 7 rem, text align center, and padding of 0.5 rem, and give it a color of font gray. Let's style the number, make it bold and different color. Dot number, margin bottom 0.7 rem, font weight 500, and color font gray light. Let's style the image, give it a border radius of 1 rem and margin 0 auto. Let's style the H3 and H6. H6, give it a padding of 1 rem and margin of 0 minus 1 rem. Let's give the H3 and H6 different background of this color, and the H6 also give the font size of 1.3 rem, make it a little bit smaller, and a background of this color. So as we can see now, our hotels highlight section looks perfect in big screen and also in small screens. The one thing that's still missing is styling this title. So let's add it in the global section because we are going to use it multiple times. Let's say dot section title background of this color, margin 0, 0, and 2 rem, font size 3 rem, font weight 600, text align center, and line height of 6 rem, and then finally give it a border left of 8 pixel solid this color. And now this section is actually finished. We can see that the title looks way better and our items look good on big screen and also look great on small screen. So let's move on to the next section. So let's create this hotels benefits section. It's a very easy section. Let's go to the HTML file and under the hotels section create another section. We'll call it hotels benefits. So section dot hotels benefits. We'll add a title, give it a class, section title, our hotels benefits, create a div with the class benefits. This is going to be the wrapper of our all items inside this section. Then dot item icon and dot item text. Inside the item icon, another div with the class of icon wrapper, and here an icon with the class far solid and far bill concierge. This is our icon. Inside the item text, we'll create an H3 with 24 hours reception, and then a paragraph with lorem ipsum text. And then you can duplicate this item div, or you can copy it from the exercise files. And this is basically the HTML. So let's now move on to the styles. As usual, we are going to copy this comment, add it here, rename it to hotels benefits. So dot hotels benefits dot benefits display flex wrap and then gap of 1 rem. If we make the screen a little bit bigger, we can see that they're appearing as flex items beside each other. And then let's style the item hotels benefits dot item. As you can remember, the item has an item icon and an item text. We want them also to be display flex. and flex direction column, text align center, and flex 140 rem. So this is telling flex to grow by 1, shrink by 1, but the basis size of it, the width of it should be 40 rem. So let's style the icon wrapper. So dot hotels benefits dot icon wrapper, give it a display flex, align item center, and justify content also center, and height of 100%. So let's style the I element itself. Dot hotels benefits dot icon dot item icon I, font size 4 rem, color this color, and give it a transition because we're going to create a hover effect. We want to transition the color 0.3 seconds and ease in and out. Let's create the hover effect on the icon. Give it a color of warm white. And now also the hover is working. So now let's style the text, which will be the item text and the H3 and the paragraph here. Dot hotels benefits dot item text padding of 1 rem, and then the H3 give it a font weight of 500, and then the paragraph give it a color of font gray. And now this section is actually looking good at big screens and also at small screens. We don't need to do anything to adjust it. So with that, let's move on to the next section. So now let's create the Explore Popular Destinations section, which is also a very simple section. So under the Hotels Benefits section in the HTML file, let's add another section and call it Explore section. And let's add a title of section title, H2 class section title, and the title should be Explore Popular Destinations. Let's add a div of the class Explore, followed by a div of the class Item. The item should contain an href, a link. Inside the link is an image. The source should be images nearby 1. Alt should be also San Francisco. Here's the image. Under the link we have an H3, also San Francisco, and then a span of 8 hours flight. You can either duplicate the item or you can copy the divs from the exercise files. They are identical except I changed the text and the images. And now the images appear beneath each other, so we are going to style them now. Again, let's copy the comment from here, change it to be Explore section, and then dot explore section dot explore display flex wrap, and then justify content space evenly. Underneath it, dot explore section dot item flex grow by 0, shrink by 0, and basis is 25%. padding 3 rem, 1 rem, 2 rem, and then text align, center, and finally color gray light. Then let's style the image dot explore section image, give it a border radius of 50%. Then the h3 dot explore section h3 margin 1 rem, 0, and then 0.2 rem. And then finally we'll style the span. We'll just give it a font size of 1.3 rem. And now actually this section is also finished. It looks good on big screen, and then when we make it smaller, it looks also great on small screens. So let's move on to the next section. So now let's move on to the gallery section. This section is actually extremely easy. I'm going to show you how to use one property in CSS that will give you this mosaic style without doing much code, without writing much code. So under the latest section, let's create a new section and call it gallery. h2.section title, our gallery. And then here we'll create a div with the class container. And inside this container, we'll just add our images. So the first image, it's going to be under images, gallery, and then 1. Then you can duplicate the image and just change the number or copy the images code from the exercise files. It's very simple, just images underneath each other with the number from 1 till 13. So as we can see, actually for our small screen, it looks all right, not bad at all. For very small screen, this is very acceptable style. So let's create the mosaic effect on big screen. Let's go to the styles and copy this comment section, rename it to gallery container margin 0 and auto. And now for the one line that will convert our images to a mosaic style, just write columns. And let's specify how many columns we want. We want 3 columns. Each column should be of size 30 rem. Immediately, it just got the mosaic style without doing much code. Let's add a column gap to it of 1 rem. And then let's style the image itself. .gallery image. We'll give it a display block. And margin bottom of 1 rem. And now it's done. So let's move on to the footer section, our final section. Now let's create the footer section. The footer is going to be 2 sections. The first section is the menus and the company logo here. And the other section is going to be the payment and the follow us social icons section. So under the gallery section, let's create a footer. And then the first section, and then the dot company section, and then the footer menu section. Inside the company section, let's create an h1.logo, booking, and then an icon with the class fa solid, fa bold, and then a paragraph with lorem ipsum, and underneath it we're going to create 2 divs. The first one is .tel and the second one is .email. Inside the .tel we're going to create an icon with the class fa solid, and phone. And then we just type the phone number. And inside the email, we need also an icon, class solid, and envelope. And then just type any email. Inside the footer menu, we are going to create .item, which will have an h2 of pages, and then a ul, an li, and then href, about us. And then duplicate this link or copy the links from the exercise files. And then you can copy the whole div item and duplicate it 3 more times, or copy the whole thing from the exercise files also. So now the HTML for this part is finished, but let's create the social and payment section. So we will create another section. We'll give it a class of payments, social, and then it will have 2 divs. The first one is payments, and the second one is .social. The payments will have an h2 of payments, payment methods, and the social will have also an h2 of follow us. Underneath the payment methods, we need to add some icons for MasterCard and Visa, Amex, PayPal, whatever you like. And underneath follow us, we need to add some social icons. Alt-Shift-F to format. These are just social icons for Facebook, Twitter, and other networks. So now the HTML for the footer section is actually finished. We need to just style them. So let's go to the style and again copy this comment, paste it here, rename it to footer. Let's give the footer padding of 0, 2 rem, and 2 rem. And then the footer section, give it a display flex and flex wrap, and then justify content space between and margin bottom 0. Let's style the icons inside the company div. So footer dot company font size 2 rem, margin right 0.6 rem. These are these 2 icons here. And then footer dot company dot 10. Let's give it a margin of 1 rem and 0. Let's remove the UL styles from the footer UL. So footer UL, list style none. Let's style the LI, line height of 3 rem. Let's style the footer menu. So footer menu, give it a width of 100%, display flex wrap, and then margin top of 2 rems. Then let's style the items inside the footer menu. .item. So we'll give it a flex of 1, 1, and 25%. So now let's style the payment and social section. H2, payment, social, and H2. We will give it a margin bottom of 1 rem. And then let's style the icon. Font size 3 rem, and margin right 1 rem. So now this is actually looking good for the mobile view. But for the big screen, we want it to be a little bit different. We want to show the company beside this menu section, not on top of it. So let's go to our media query, and down there, we are going to create a new section for the footer. And let's say footer dot company flex 0 and 0 and 30% basis. And then footer dot footer menu, we'll give it a flex of 0, 0, 60%. Now they appear beside each other, and give it a margin left auto. So right now, in the big screen, they appear beside each other, the two divs. And when we shrink the browser a bit more, for mobile screen, they appear on top of each other. So actually, that's it. We finished the whole tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. And please don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials to come.